I've seen what's around the corner. I've seen what's over the horizon. And I promise you, you niggas have nothing to celebrate. And no, I won't get there with you. I'm going to Canada.
If I didn't go, I would not be getting paid because you have a certain amount of sick leave, and once you've used it, then you have nothing, and it's on your costs. In this economy now, you need every dollar that's available.
Chances are you have gone to work sick at some point in time in your life. During the pandemic, that started to change. The public health advice to stay home when sick was generally taken quite seriously. But depending on where you work, staying home could be a big blow to your budget.
I'm a nurse, so when I work clinically, I definitely felt pressured to have to go in when I was sick. You feel obligated to your patients, your clients, to society. You can just continue to deteriorate, and then you'll not be able to work for a long period of time. So you will just contribute to the burnout of your other colleagues. And then on top of that, the patients are not going to be getting the care that they need because there's a shortage.
My employer allows us to stay home and work from home. I have the ability to work from home. It allows me to be home and recover if I'm sick, which is super important. It also eliminates me making other people sick, so it's very, very important. And I do think COVID probably allowed for working from home and a better allowance from employers.
If you're not feeling well, you can work from home. That's like the setup. You have to still work.
I rarely get sick, but I mean, like on years that I do, maybe it's 2 times a year, and I'm out for a week. That's a lot of money. I found it kind of paradoxical during the pandemic that they tell us to stay home if you're sick, and I don't know anybody who stayed home. Like people who had enough privilege to stay home did, but for the most part, people that I knew who were like, in working class, they're like, no, I have to go.
With respiratory virus season well underway, healthcare workers and economists alike are renewing calls for better access to paid sick days. Dr. Andrew Bazari is a physician, executive director of social medicine at the University Health Network in Toronto. He's with me in studio. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning, Matt.
From your perspective, why do we in this country need mandated paid sick leave?
Well, I think the testimonies that we heard were incredibly powerful just to start the program. I mean, when you look at the evidence around paid sick leave, it's one of the most important measures to keep people away from spreading the disease in the workplace or any infectious disease. I think we've seen some evaluations in different jurisdictions that can show that for things from influenza to COVID-19, states that had mandated paid sick leave, which is ensuring that people can stay home, not see their own health deteriorate, get other people sick, could see a reduction between 20 to 40% of such cases. So I think when we're looking at all of, one, most importantly, the individual's health, wanting to ensure that they're able to recover, they're not putting other people at risk, and they're also ensuring that there's some job security and income security during a time where we know that this is a real pressure especially for people who are in working wages across the country.
I thought it was interesting. The last person that we heard from there talked about how, in some ways, he sees the idea of paid sick leave as a privilege for people, that not everybody has this. As he says, if you're working class, you're going to work.
Yeah, StatsCan did a recent analysis of who has access to paid sick leave, and I think the framing of a privilege is spot on. When you look at what we call the socioeconomic gradient, when you look at this going from the bottom decile of income of people who are with working wages in the bottom decile, it's only around 20 to 24% who have access to paid sick leave from their employer. When you look at the top decile of income, it's about 80 to 85%. So it's a real disparity. It's a real shift in privilege that's not afforded to everyone. And I would argue those who actually at highest risk are those without paid sick leave.
What is a reasonable amount of paid sick leave? Because, again, this varies from province to province and company to company, depending on where you work and where you happen to live.
So I think, Matt, one of the things that's important as we step back and look at this from a public policy narrative is that we're actually one of only 3 countries without nationally mandated paid sick leave alongside the United States. And so what's really happened is it's fallen to provinces to make these decisions. And so we've seen some progress in the last 10 years from Prince Edward Island to British Columbia and Quebec that were able to put in place some mandated paid sick leave from 1 day to 5 days, most recently in British Columbia. When we look at the OECD, other countries that we compare to, what we've seen is around 5 to 10 paid sick days being where there's been sort of the progressive and established norm of what's required for people. If we look at, again, almost a year ago when we were making a call for paid sick leave and many health workers to economists making the same push, the federal government came through with 10 paid sick days for federally regulated sectors and jobs. So I think where we can see a line with the evidence is between 5 to 10 days. The terrible challenge is now that there's, with no sort of provincial mandated paid sick leave, people are really left to fend for themselves. And as you mentioned, and have had Dr. Bogosh and others on the show, this real season of influenza, COVID-19, RSV, and pneumonia is putting a lot of people at risk, and especially essential workers.
Take me into the hospital. What does it look like in the hospital? If people don't have paid sick leave, if they can't stay home, and then there are knockoff effects because maybe they spread whatever they have because they have to go to work, or the kid has to go to school because they can't be home, what does that mean in the hospital?
Well, that's the real challenge that is playing out, firstly, in a system where we have some of the fewest acute care beds. So that means the system already is pushed very close to the brink whenever you see this sort of seasonal effect, but also now the new and established players of COVID-19 and long COVID really added to the mix of what we see now every winter. When you look at what's happening in terms of some of the realities for people without paid sick leave, one, there's been some really important analysis that places that have paid sick leave actually have higher vaccination rates. So to your point about people being able to actually go and access a vaccine, they'll be able to stay out of hospital. So that's one thing that can happen if there's paid sick leave. The other thing that we've seen is that they can actually go and access a primary care doctor if they need to, or not be able to have to end up in the emergency department, and not going into work to actually spread the infectious disease or respiratory disease to other colleagues and coworkers. And so I think, again, seeing some of the analysis showing 20 to 40% reduction in such spread. So when we're already at very thin margins of how the hospital system and acute care system in Canada can function, any of these real sort of pressures that are really socially driven, these are not individual failures. There's people not being able, having to make these impossible decisions of caring for a kid, who is sick, or having to go in to work while they're sick to be able to pay for rent or groceries. It really puts an immense pressure on the individual, the families, but also the health system.
Does the calculus at all change? And again, this goes back perhaps to the equity piece, but does the calculus change when so many more people can work from home? Again, that's not an option for everybody. But if we heard from one of those guests, I just stay home and work. But that's not something that everybody can access, obviously.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to some of the socioeconomic disparities in the gradient, right? I think some individuals can continue to work from home, and I think that does help shift as I think the statements were made. But I also think it's important to recognize who are some of the individuals and what kind of jobs are at highest risk. We're talking about people in childcare, nursing homes, grocery stores that continue to have the least amount of access to paid sick leave, and are also, essential workers. I think it's important, Matt, to remind ourselves that pre-pandemic, the way we were describing these roles were as low-wage or unskilled workers. It became pretty clear that this was essential work for people's basic daily lives to function, from people working in grocery stores to the work in childcare or senior nursing home facilities. And we haven't stayed true with the public policies needed to protect them.
What happened to that momentum? This is something we talked about yesterday in the program. Dr. Isaac Bogosh was on, and he said there was momentum at the worst of the pandemic for people pushing for paid sick leave. And then you see in Ontario implemented paid sick leave during the pandemic, and then those policies were scrapped once the worst of it seemed to be in the rearview mirror. What happened to that momentum, do you think?
Well, that's some of the gut punch, I think, for health workers, where we were able to see some of this traction with the public, people finally seeing so many of these issues come up, and how it's really about social policies that kept people alive or, ultimately determined who died. And I think it's important to remind ourselves that I think we saw some traction, but it didn't translate into policy. And I think that's the challenge that we face now, is that.
But what's the disconnect? Why didn't that happen, do you think?
Well, I think the focus and the commitment to essential workers and to workers in the health system has not stayed or been sustained. And I think there's, lots of academic papers about how this can happen in terms of actually, we didn't really learn all that much from SARS. We probably have not learned, I would argue, as much as we should through the pandemic. And I think part of it is the real policy discipline to ensure that every level of government is able to make that commitment. And the reality is it's going to require an investment. And I think some of this has to come down to which lives matter, which lives and jobs are ones that we're willing to prioritize and make investments in to ensure that people can access things as basic as paid sick leave. And we just didn't see that happen. And I think that's why, for many of us who bear witness to this and have the privilege of bearing witness in healthcare spaces, the advocacy continues because we know what's at stake. And I think no one can speak to it more powerfully than I think the people at the top of the show speaking to how it's affecting their lives.
It's good to see you. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Matt.
Dr. Andrew Bizzari is a physician and executive director of social medicine at the University Health Network in Toronto.
But don't let it be a black and a white one, 'cause they'll slam you down to the street top. Black police showing out for the white cop.
Meanwhile, a Pasadena police officer is now suing her own department over discrimination.
Tyson Crutchfield says that she was punished after trying to de-escalate a situation back in February, and she believes it's because she's black. But the department says video from the day shows otherwise.
KCAL News reporter Lauren Posen is live tonight in the newsroom with more on this incident. Lauren?
Well, Chauncey, these are some serious claims against the Pasadena Police Department, from discrimination to fellow officers saying racial slurs and then being promoted. But the city is standing by its department, saying there's no case here.
Straight up. He shouldn't be on the streets.
Punished for taking action because of the color of her skin. That's what the father of Pasadena police officer Tyson Crutchfield says happened in February.
She's going out there trying to do her best to de-escalate the situation, and unfortunately it has brought us here.
In body camera footage released of the incident, you see several officers around a teen on the left. Crutchfield says one of them pushed the teen's face into a cactus, but the department says that's not what the video shows. She says she later tried to gently push the officer away to de-escalate the situation, and she was ordered to return to the station.
She doesn't believe in a code of silence. She doesn't believe in circling the wagons. She believes in integrity, honesty, and safety.
In a statement, the city of Pasadena says the city will vigorously defend itself in this matter, and the facts will prevail. Crutchfield holds both a bachelor's and master's in criminology. She's also a beauty queen, competing for Miss Oregon USA. But it was becoming an officer her father says meant the most to her.
Since she was a very young woman, made a decision that she wanted to be a police officer. Tyson's goals, again, was to come out and to help to bridge the gap in our communities that plague us all over the United States.
Crutchfield's attorney says she was put on paid administrative leave for 6 months but was never told why, and she's been with the department since May 2021. Jasmine Chauncey, back to you in the studio.
You are demanding that this city will respect the dignity of labor. So often we overlook the worth and the significance of those who are not in professional jobs, of those who are not in the so-called big jobs. But let me say to you tonight that whenever you are engaged in work that serves humanity and is for the building of humanity, it has dignity and it has worth. One day our society must come to see this. One day our society will come to respect the sanitation worker if it is to survive, for the person who picks up our garbage in the final analysis is as significant as the physician, for if he doesn't do his job, disease is rampant. All labor has dignity.
New tonight here at 10, the city of St. Louis staring down a new lawsuit claiming it discriminated against nearly a dozen sanitation employees by not paying them overtime wages. First Alert 4's Melanie Johnson joins us here in studio with more on this. Melanie?
Corey, explosive allegations coming from St. Louis City sanitation workers in a federal lawsuit filed this week. A group of black employees accuse the city of discrimination when it comes to pay and say they have not received overtime pay. No money and more problems are the reasons why 9 St. Louis City Department of Refuse workers say they are suing the city in federal court.
They're risking their careers. They're risking, the livelihoods of their families. They are scared to death.
Former Missouri Labor Relations Board member Jason Greer tells First Alert 4 they have a solid case.
This is not just a sanitation issue. This is an employee/employer issue across the board. COVID taught employers that I could get away with fewer employees while maximizing the amount of work that I put on those employees.
In the 11-page lawsuit, 9 black equipment operators say they were never paid for working overtime, accusing their manager of, quote, willfully and with reckless disregard carried out an illegal pattern of failing to pay plaintiffs for all hours worked.
Based on Missouri labor law, anything over 40 hours for the week, you have to pay those employees time and a half. But if you are in a situation where you're working people 40, 60, 80 hours a week, but you're paying them at a straight rate, you're completely negligent.
That's not all. Court documents go on to say the African-American sanitation employees received lower wages compared to their white counterparts.
It's very common, given the nature of the race relations within Missouri as a whole, the state. It's very common in terms of the city of St. Louis, given the race relations.
Page 6 states, quote, black heavy equipment operators being paid less than white heavy equipment operators employed by the city for like work.
The one thing that the city is not necessarily good at right now is actually picking up trash on time. So what I'm going to say to the city is this: in the event that these workers successfully win this case, this is going to open the door for all kinds of litigation across departments.
First Alert 4 has been reporting on garbage pickup delays for years, as well as accusations of a trashy work environment. In 2021, a female refuse employee sued the city for sexual harassment on the job and received a $325,000 settlement.
Mayor, I'm going to say this to you directly, and I pray that you are actually watching this interview. You have to get out ahead of this.
The city sent First Alert 4 this statement in response to our story, saying, quote, while we cannot comment on pending litigation, the city continues its push for competitive wages to retain and grow its workforce. City employees received pay increases each year over the past 2 years, and the city also recently completed negotiations to increase wages further for refuse division employees. The 9 employees have not released a dollar amount but are seeking lost damages and wages. This is not the only city department suing the city right now. The fire department is also in court for the same reasons: discrimination and pay. Melody Johnson, First Alert 4.
Kansas.
There's one place in town that has some great food for sharing, whose owner is making a little history. This month, Alan Neeland becomes the first black president of the Greater Kansas City Restaurant Association. He's the co-owner of the Combine up at 30th and Troost in Kansas City, and he joins us this morning. Alan Neeland, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you for having me.
It's so nice to have you. And the Greater Kansas City Restaurant Association, of course, is the group that represents restaurants throughout the region. They do education and advocacy for the industry. How significant is it for you as a black man to be president of this group?
Pretty significant, especially in our, I believe, 106 years. It's kind of astounding that I'm having the opportunity to become the president of this association and help lead this organization.
Yeah, it's great. What are you most excited about as you get into the role?
Of course, the food. I already love going to many restaurants throughout our Greater Kansas City area, but more about being a part of the change. We've had a lot of change since the pandemic, and now that things have started to settle down, there's a new change with restaurants when it comes to just overall concepts and staffing, and the list goes on and on.
Yeah, talk more about that change. What is it that's, obviously the pandemic was a pretty seismic event. It affected every restaurant. They all had to deal with some of the same questions. What are the hot issues now? What is it that restaurants are dealing with?
A lot of the stuff that we're dealing with still has traits of the pandemic, such as inflation. We're still having staffing issues. A lot of people left our industry during the pandemic, and it's like a new start for us. So you don't have necessarily those old veteran seasoned workers anymore. You have a new class of employees that you're having to train up, and you don't have those, ins and outs of the industry. So that's just a difference of running a business now, is the change of employees and inflation and other things.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk more about your hopes and your priorities for the Restaurant Association, but first I'd actually like to talk a little bit more about you and about your own journey in the industry. You've been doing this more or less your whole adult life, haven't you?
Honestly, yeah, I started out in the industry working for Panera Bread at the age of 16. I actually started off as a dishwasher. I
So
worked my
before
way up
your
through,
adult life, yeah.
Oh yeah, before my adult life. I've been in the industry for almost, let's push it close to 20 years almost. I'll give myself a little boost, but
Sure.
yeah, no, I started off as a dishwasher and literally worked my way up through the ranks, learning every single facet of the restaurant when it comes to front of house and back of house, and then getting into management.
And before you opened the Combine, you were working at Pizza 51, I understand.
Yeah, so I had actually hit my 9.5 year mark at Panera, and I got with my mentor, and for some reason I did not want to hit 10 years with Panera. And I told him what I wanted to do. I wanted to open up my own business. So he gave me the idea of like, hey, you want to open up your own restaurant? You may want to go, follow somebody that runs their own small business. So through a mentor, I was connected with a guy named Jason Pryor, who became my mentor. I ran his pizza shop out in Fairway, Kansas, called Pizza 51 West, for about 2 years, and really got a chance to get my feet wet when it comes to entrepreneurship.
And what did you learn during that time? What was it that about running that location of Pizza 51 that made you say, hey, this is how I want to spend the rest of my life?
Well, the first lesson that I actually learned was just, food costs. In a big corporate setting, it's not as important because there's dollars there. But when you go to a small mom and pops, everything matters. Everything that's wasted, labor costs, and just those little small things that come up, those really can make or break a business. But I got a chance to learn that. But the biggest thing that I learned was dealing with people. In this industry, we got to deal with people every day. And that's where I found my love for serving and making sure that people that came into my establishment or any establishment that I worked at felt welcome.
So the establishment you work at now is the one you co-own, the Combine. How did the idea for the Combine come to be? How did you find yourself opening your own place?
Well, after going back to Panera from working that pizza shop for about 2 years, me and Jason Pryor kind of sat down and had a few different meetings and powwows and kind of came up with the idea of partnering together to open this concept. But it was during a real weird time here in the U.S. There was a political divide. There was racial divide with the George Floyd, and we were being faced with a pandemic. So we kind of went through that all while trying to open. But with that being said, we wanted to just create a space that brought people together. And we found a location on Truce that was perfect.
And tell people about that location. It's got some history itself.
Oh, yeah. So we're actually on the corner of 29th and Truce in the old Wonder Bread building. So it's pretty cool that I get people that come down that actually used to work in this historic building, as well as people that grew up in the neighborhood that would walk past and smell that bread baking early in the morning. But now instead of bread, you're smelling pizza. Which is
great. So why'd you call it the Combine anyway?
The Combine. There's 3 reasons why we decided to call it the Combine. First reason is anybody that's from Kansas City and anybody that knows about truth knows that truth is the dividing line within the city. It's divided our city for many years. And we wanted to just create a space that brought people together. Henceforth, my mission statement, which is exist together at the Combine. Second reason was just to pay homage to the building. We are in the old Wonder Bread building, and the Combine is used back in the day or even now, to till the wheat that makes the bread. So it was kind of a little tie-in to that. And then the last reason was just the culmination of me and my partners, my original partners, coming together from all different aspects of the industry, bringing our ideas together to create the concept.
I noticed you have a little tribute to the Wonder Bread heritage of the building, even on your menu.
Correct. We have a nice little Wonder Bread favorites menu with PB&Js and turkey and cheese, and we actually got a fluffernutter. That really kind of raises my eyebrows when people come in. They're always asking, "What's a fluffernutter?"
That's old school. What is a fluffernutter,
yeah.
for those who don't know?
Oh yeah, it's basically a peanut butter and marshmallow fluff sandwich on white bread. It sounds weird, but you got to give it a try at least once.
All right. Well, we'll see if that day comes for me. So I want to come back to your new role at the Kansas City Restaurant Association. What would you say is your agenda for the year ahead? What would you say are your top priorities?
I'm coming in really motivated, and I'm not saying that there's a lot of things that I want to tackle, because there are a lot of things out there and it can become overwhelming, but I just want to kind of continue my path. So as soon as I got with the association, I got on the education committee and chaired that committee for about 6 years. I love kids and I really want to be a part of the future and kind of shaping the future of our industry. And the only way you do that is getting in contact with these kids while they're, kind of cultivating their dreams for the culinary industry. But my big thing is showing kids and helping them realize there's so many different pieces of our industry that they can be involved in outside of the restaurant. There's accounting, there's marketing. Marketing is a big tool for us restaurants now. And just being able to show kids they don't necessarily have to be directly in the kitchen. They don't have to wash dishes. There's so many different facets of the restaurant they can be a part of to affect it.
You mentioned that it's significant that you are the first Black president of the Restaurant Association. Do you think this is a good moment for Black entrepreneurs in general and for Black restaurant owners in the Kansas City metro?
I think it's a lead up. Since the pandemic, there has been a lot of Black restaurants and a lot of people taking a leap into entrepreneurship. And I think it just kind of shows, with me becoming the president, how times are changing.
Would you say that restaurant owners of color or managers of color are facing a different set of challenges in the restaurant industry right now than their white colleagues?
I just think that they may be a step or two behind, and that's where we come in as an association and help give them those tools to make them successful. I cannot thank the association enough, because without them, there's a lot of things that I would not have known when opening my own restaurant. But being around like-minded people, being around people that are industry that can help give you those tips is really something that's gotten me this far in my career.
Alan, if you had to put on your prognosticator's hat and look into the crystal ball, where would you want to see Kansas City's restaurant scene in, say, 5 or 10 years?
I really see it growing. We're getting so many new concepts within our city, and with everything coming down the line, our city becoming or getting on that global stage, I just want to see more creative and cool concepts that are already coming to our city. We're a melting pot of restaurants, and it shows how diverse our city is.
That's Alan Neeland. He's the co-owner of the Combine, and he's the next president of the Greater Kansas City Restaurant Association. Alan, thanks so much for taking some time with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Context of white supremacy. Gus T. Renegade in for another broadcast, hopefully to share constructive information on the system of white supremacy. Today's date, Friday, December 8, 2023. So I have been told. I have heard that repeatedly over the last month or so in a variety of different formats, mediums, that Kansas City, the Kansas City area, which would encompass both KCs, Missouri and Kansas, that area is booming, that all of the Chiefs' success and Patrick Mahomes over the past few years or so has just done wonders, and they have lots of filming for different movie projects and such, TV projects being done in the area. It's just been amazing, all from tackle football and little brain damage. That's what they said. Nobody even remembers Michael Brown Jr., Roger Golubski, Ralph Yarl. How many black females did that race soldier rape and kidnap and stuff in the dungeon? Bringing up old stuff. That happened this year. You're bringing up old stuff. Pat Mahomes. Good times in KC. Haven't even had the trial for Roger Golubski or the white man who shot Ralph Yarl or the white man. Never mind. We'll get into all that next year. Neutralizing Workplace Racism today. The number to dial, 605-313-5164. The code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Number again, race relations. Man, the number again, 605-313-5164. The code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. The email, if you're not comfortable having your voice divulged or you're not able to dial in, you can always email untiljustice@gmail.com, untiljustice@gmail.com. If you have thoughts, problems, and or definitely if you have suggestions, untiljustice@gmail.com. Let's see. Before we get to folks who dialed in, folks who wrote in as well, let's see. Number one, it is so-called holidays, all of that. I think Kwanzaa is about to start up soon, and some of the others probably got some holidays so-called that I don't even know about at this point. If you have to endure any of that in your workplace, you definitely you're going to have to probably fashion out your own code that'll be unique to you in terms of what to do, what not to do. I'm a big advocate of non-participation. Pamela Evans Harris talked about that as well. I'm not doing the decorations, nor do I want to participate in decorating or doing a costume, or sometimes they'll have the gift exchanges and a lot of that stuff can get really tacky as well, where you have to do purchasing gifts for other people, and then you go and do the no thanks, man. And like I said, you can gracefully bow out of all of that. And if they're going to do a dinner or something, if they're going to do it on work hours, and it's something where you have to go, and like I said, even if it's not they're going to literally come and lash you and make you attend. If you know there are going to be consequences, and maybe you don't get a promotion, and or they just make wisecracks about you for the next 8 months or so, that sort of thing, you just develop a code for, okay, I attend for 30 minutes, I don't drink anything, I don't eat anything, I'm sober, hang out for our 30, and we're out. Now if they do it and it's beyond work hours, after work hours, same thing. If you have to attend, whatever that is, you take one person with you. That's about the only change, because a lot of those, they have alcohol and, who knows what it could be. So you take someone with you and you all talk in advance. Any potential difficulties, if it's somebody that you have problems with already and you think they're going to be in attendance, let them know who that person is. You can show a picture, any other potential problems or what have you. You all can develop a signal. We leave. You already have a reasoning for leaving. You can set up so that somebody calls one of your phone, or you can, whatever, lots of things that you can do. But just have a quick talk. It could be 30 minutes before you attend the event. We're sober. Make sure they don't slip anything in your glass. We're not eating anything. And we're out of here in 30. Great. If you have to attend. And again, I submit, haven't heard anyone try this one successfully, but with all the fentanyl and everything else, I think one could easily say, your boss, supervisor, sir, owner, CEO, ma'am, sir, I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic event. But if this is going to be someplace with alcohol, substance abuse has been a massive problem for people that I care about, dear friends, family members of mine, and with everything that I have endured for the folks that I care about, I just voluntarily excuse myself from places that are going to have alcohol, substances, or what have you, because I've had my fill of that for one lifetime. With everything that they've said about fentanyl and all the rest over the past 4 or 5 years or so, I think you could get that. Like, oh, okay, if it's going to be someplace with alcohol. If you get there, and I know that's been common in my experience, they go to a bar or someplace like that, or someplace that serves bar, they're going to have a keg or liquor or whatever it is. If that's going to be the case, I think most people, they could accept that. You know, like, because we were going to do Jell-O shots and all the rest. Like, we were ready to like, oh, man, that's right on. Well, you take care and have it. Now, this doesn't work as well if they see that you've got a six-pack in the back of your car every day. That kind of messes it up. So it does kind of help if you have teetotaler tendencies. But I submit that one may work. Anyway, develop a code. If you do have to go to the party, let us know for any of the folks if you have any of that holiday nonsense operating, like they do the mistletoe. And so that's why I say it gets tacky so quick, because I've been in workplaces where they had mistletoe. Somebody had that at their office door and such. Like, oh man, come on. It's we got Me Too. And so for people who don't know, the mistletoe, that's the one where if you get caught under the mistletoe, you're supposed to kiss. Like, come on now. Come on. Bill Cosby. Take that down. Shouldn't that be HR, right? Take that down immediately. Have you lost your mind? I'm giving you a verbal warning right now. Write that down. Verbal warning. Mistletoe in the awesome plate. Lost your mind. Let's see. The audio that we heard, we started off Canada. They were talking about paid sick leave. Now, that was audio, no video. But they talked to some of the so-called essential workers, particularly healthcare workers. Some of those folks, I suspect, were not white. I don't know. And then we just heard they make it kind of difficult for the people who weren't born there to even come there and do healthcare work. So, hard to say. Anyway, they did all that talk about, who gets access to paid sick leave. And if you don't have it, you can't just take off and miss pay. That could jeopardize things. So then you go to work and jeopardize your health and the health of those around you. And they get all this lip service, at least talking, buckets of words, some may say, about, oh man, health workers matter. People who work at the grocery store matter. Essential workers matter, and all the rest of it, livable wage and paid time. They did all that. Well, why isn't that a permanent thing? Now, I just looked since they said that Canada is one of 3 countries in the known universe that does not mandate paid sick time off. U.S. is one. Japan is the other. I wonder what those 3 countries have in common, and particularly for the U.S. and Canada because they're so close, right? Now, I couldn't just immediately go to white supremacy racism because, Japan is mostly non-white unless I've been misinformed. So I'd have to investigate, like, why don't they have paid sick time off in Japan? What's up with that? Now, the dominant culture on the planet, maybe they're just reflecting that. That could be. But that research project, there we go. Why don't they have paid sick time off in Japan? But for Canada and the U.S., for the U.S., I immediately thought we have too many dark people here to have paid sick, to have all these niggers. Al Sharpton can just, oh, and I got to take the wheel. What? Now, Canada, they're under 70% white. They don't have nearly as many people classified as black, but they are under 70% white and projected to be majority non-white at the same time as the U.S. So that might be a reason that they also don't have paid sick time off, that we got enough. We don't have as many of you dark people as they do in the U.S., but we got enough. We got enough. Not going to be any paid sick time off here either. And that might not be the case. Further investigation, but that, at least the theory, I did investigate a tad. Also, the people who would have access in Canada, the U.S., in the world, the people who would have access more than likely are going to be classified as white. On average, it's going to be more white people. Same thing we said for working from home and all of that would improve your quality of life, really improve your health and well-being. You don't have to go and fight through traffic and a commute and ice and sleet and hail and all that. Go work, contaminate everybody at work, then come back home grumpy, mad, contaminate your children, and even if you're just by yourself. Probably will take you a little bit longer to fully recuperate as opposed to if you'd been able to just stay home, take care of yourself, eat well, rest, maybe even work from home. Might not necessarily be the case, but I know at least I would feel a lot better. That alone is worth quite a bit. You're going to have a lot more non-white people not going to have access to that paid sick leave. Even some jobs where sick leave, try and take a day off and you will be fired. Have somebody else in your spot talking about sick leave, much less paid sick leave. Let's see. I was even remembering Breonna, was it Jackson from last week? She got her job. She had got booted from greater confinement, and she had her job. And she talked about how concerned, nervous, scared she was about losing her job. And she had already mapped out how she would get to work if her car failed. She had to take public transportation. She had already investigated all of that. I said, dang, that is sad, kind of pitiful, the position. Like, does it sound like she has paid sick leave? She's feeling peaked. She can take some time off to, get herself feeling right as rain again. Doubtful. Let's see. The segment on Tyson Crutchfield. She spells her name Taisyn. I thought that was pretty cool. Tyson Crutchfield, Pasadena police officer, where she's alleging white supremacy, racism within the department, and even saying that she tried to intervene. Officer was smushing non-white person's face into a cactus, and she says she tries to gently shove them away, and they say, oh, the camera doesn't show that, and that's not what this is at all the rest of it. Like, man, I have heard many cases of enforcement officers who are not white trying to do from a vulnerable, pitiful position of a victim of white supremacy, trying to do a little bit that they can to, stop an act of racism, help a non-white person who's being beaten or mistreated in some way, try and do a little bit that they can. It seems like that they risk life and limb themselves. I've heard a number of cases of that. Another one to think about before you take that sort of job, especially there, because, the people that you're going to see if you can neutralize what they're doing, they are armed. So, substantially different level of risk involved, I would think. But that was Pasadena police officer Tyson Crutchfield. We heard the report and the preface. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I played that since next month. They'll start the year off with the official federal holiday for Dr. King, and so they'll have lots of tacky remembrances and I Have a Dream and all the rest of it. He was assassinated in Memphis supporting the sanitation workers. Black, male, privileged sanitation workers being mistreated. That's where he died at, was assassinated at. Trying to get his Poor People's Campaign together, and they asked, man, we're suffering. Don't even have a locker to change, and we go out and empty all the trash. I'll be right there. He goes to Tennessee. Dr. King. But these sanitation workers, black, in St. Louis, Missouri, can't get their overtime pay. Wage theft is that phrase. We've been using it here at Neutralizing Workplace Racism for, I don't know, the entire time that we've had this broadcast. Wage theft. That's the exact sort of thing Dr. King went to Memphis to address. Can't even get correct now. And I mean, really, that is a grueling job. I can't even say as to if you have a job where you make one of those highfalutin big-time jobs, brag about jobs where you make, $5,000 an hour or something. Even there, I don't want you to be, cutting me out of my hours or nothing. I worked 50 hours. I want my full 50 hours of pay. This is a much lower scale of pay and such. We work our overtime. Nah, Leroy. I know you work 7 because they said that scale went all the way up. It was like 70 hours and such. Can you imagine? You do 70 hours of sanitation work and then they cut all that OT pay out? Jeez, man. Come on. Black male privilege on that one. Like, geez. Tell you about some progress. They said they mentioned COVID quite a bit within all of this because they talked about that with Canada too, but they mentioned that with the black sanitation workers as well, and they said that according to Missouri labor laws, anything over 40 hours is time and a half. Now that's one where I say now it is always encouraged, advisable, best no local laws. I think we had talked about that 2 weeks ago when they were talking about if your employer can force you to compensate them for training if you leave the company within a certain amount of time, make you pay the full price of the training back. And they said in some jurisdictions that is not lawful. They might say that, but they cannot legally make you repay them for training even if you leave the job or get fired or whatever the case may be. Know what the laws are in your jurisdiction. If you are supposed to be paid time and a half or OT, make sure, hey, I know I'm aware of this, and bring that to the end. You can even quote the exact law. We, according to statute, blah, 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 are supposed to be paid time and a half. Is that your understanding? And if not, they can then get that in writing. If they say, nah, that's not we don't have to abide by that law, get that in writing. They have apps. We talked about this before as well, because sometimes what they'll do in that sort of situation, if you worked, let's say it's not 70, let's say you worked like 46 hours, so your 6 hours of OT, that is much smaller. They can be creative in trying to dock those 6 hours where those 6 hours just become missing. Like, oh no, Leroy, you didn't work 46 hours, you worked 40 hours. Track your hours, because we've seen that as well, where that can be another form of the wage theft, where you worked 40 hours, but they went in, sometimes they'll go in and adjust when you clocked in, when you clocked out, that sort of thing. Keep track of your hours. They have lots of creative ways to keep from paying us a few, and I mean cheap. All the money in the world. And like I said, it's not like the sanitation workers got the biggest salary in Missouri. I'm sure that is not the case. We got to find a way to cut them out of their OT pay. Black male privilege. That was another. They used race relations. Talked about the black male, the privileged black male workers make less than the white workers. Now, why would that be? What's the explanation for that? Sanitation, I mean, is it that skilled? Like the white workers, they're more skilled about the process of rubbish removal? Chalk that up to race relations. What does that even mean? White workers are paid more for doing the same job, emptying the same trash bin? That is the system of white supremacy racism. Didn't even allow Negroes to have that job for a long time. Come on, man. Heard that word race relations a few times. Then we heard from Alan Nealand, co-owner of the Columbine Pizza Restaurant in the Kansas City, Kansas area. Did my part to support black business. One, that is something that I have groused about for 4 years during the whole COVID-19 situation. They have talked about black entrepreneurs and the importance of non-white businesses and all of that. And I said consistently, they have excluded black males. It's been frequently exclusively black females, and or it'll be other non-white people, but no black males. And sometimes they would have multiple reports within the same week, same network. No black males. Like, dang, you couldn't find one black dude who opened up, a French fry shop? Nothing during the last 4 years? Like none? So right on. We got a black entrepreneur, Alan Nealon, black male entrepreneur, owner of the Columbine, Kansas City, Kansas. In fact, I even shared from social media, apparently they went to the local 5th grade class down in Kansas City and participated in their reading program. And it shows Mr. Nealon, great, young, aspiring, intelligent black male reading to a class where it looks like there are quite a few black, it might even be all black students. It looks like it might be all black students. I didn't even notice that at first. I just noticed it did look like a lot of black students. But yeah, I don't really see any white children there. That is amazing. Right on. So he's reading to a class of elementary school students, and then they also brought in lots and lots of pizza. Now, I'm not down with the cheese, but they brought in lots of pizza. Back in my childhood days, I would have loved that. But I mean, that is amazing. Reading is more important than watching television. Right on. If you hit the Kansas City area, support the Combine and Mr. Nealon's business. Love it. Now, specifically, when they were addressed COVID again, it was almost like everybody talked about COVID-19. Like, I thought that was all over with. No way. They said since COVID, a lot of people left the industry, so they're still having staffing issues. That is the case even here in Seattle, where many businesses are still understaffed all these years later, and even had some businesses where they had to close because they didn't have enough staffing, and I've still seen that. So the ramifications ongoing. They asked specifically the host, who I suspect was a white person, but I'm not sure, it was audio, not video. But he asked Mr. Nealon, he said, what's the difference between white entrepreneurs, black entrepreneurs? Do they have, a different set of problems? He said, I think black entrepreneurs are 2 steps behind. Metaphor. I'm not criticizing. I'm not judging. I do not have a pizza business. Right on for Mr. Nealon. I'm simply saying details, specifics, precision is important. And Mr. Nealon knows this because that's what he was talking about with regards to business. And you have thin margins if you are a small business. If you're not McDonald's and Elon Musk, you got lots of capital. Hey, you don't have to do all that. You can be a little sloppier with things. But hey, you are a smaller business. Can't be doing all that waste. Everything has to be calculated. Every cent. Details, specifics, being precise. Very important. 2 steps behind. Why are black people 2 steps behind? And even beyond that, what do you mean? Does that mean like black people don't have as much money? That they don't have an understanding? Like even that would have to be unpacked. Like, what exactly do you mean that black people are 2 steps behind? And it's not that I'm disagreeing. It's just that I think the deconstruction, let's itemize all that entails, us being 2 steps, because it might even really be that we're 20 steps behind and losing ground every day. That might be the case, but we just want to have all that spelled out explicitly. Then we can see about correcting. And then the same thing I said before. Now, why in this day, 2025, are black people 2 steps behind? Anywho, and racial divide. He said they were thinking about the combine and getting their pizza parlor idea together in the middle of 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic, and George Floyd, and there was a racial divide in the Kansas City area. I have no idea what that means. And also, if we were not in 2020, if it was, say, 2008, in the state that President Obama lost to John McCain, who opposed Dr. King's federal holiday and was proud of it. Now, he can say he changed his mind later on, but it's not like this was something that he was scurrying around and all that sort of thing. Many white people. Anyway. Yeah, he didn't even, so this Kansas, so if we were talking about this in Kansas, was there a racial divide in 2008? We read we read the whole thing, Dreams from My Father. Did it sound like President Obama described a racial divide in Kansas? Kansas is mentioned a lot in James Lowen's Sundown Town. Racial divide. We just had a white author on the program talking about that's where it is Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas. Is that a racial divide? Negroes can't even go to school with white children? Is that a racial divide? Is that race relations? All of that is the system of white supremacy. Call things by their proper name. That is the beginning of knowledge. In my estimation, that is the beginning of closing how many steps behind white people we are. I could be in error. Support Mr. Neal in the Combine if you get to the KC area. Maybe you can see if they have vegan pizza. Anyway, you can skip the fluffer nutter. Skip that one. That sounds so, when they detailed it, because I didn't know what that was either. That was the one where it was the peanut butter, marshmallow, toasted on white bread. Just all of that. Just, wow. Headed to diabetes. Nothing nutritious or helpful there. Diabetes and probably some cavities too. Don't need any white bread. The Wonder Bread factory is gone. Good riddance. Do not need any more of that. You don't need the fluffernutter if you go to celebrate at the Combine. Thankfully, they did not take the fluffernutter to the elementary school children. Thank you, Mr. Neeland. Incidentally, I did not play the segment on Boris Johnson, the former PM in the UK. But man, he had to go testify this week. Incidentally, Christmas, I should have played it. Can't play everything, but man, he had to go testify about everything is COVID too, about his COVID conduct and the Christmas parties. I think they called it Partygate or something, but they had really strict lockdown in the UK. Like, they had major financial fines, and we talked about this. We had our folks on from the UK and what have you. It was a really serious thing over in the UK. Boris Johnson and his folks violating all of this. They're having major parties, the same sort of debauchery we talked about last week, throwing up in the guacamole bowl. They're breaking office supplies, and the police had to be called, and drunk, and debauchery. Exactly what I said. That's, literally the definition of the term. They got to call the Met Police and everything to stop all this, and fire the black male and all this other nonsense. He had to go and answer for all that this week. Oh, if you need another reminder, this is the Prime Minister of the UK, former. And they're doing the same sort of hooligans and drunken nonsense at a Christmas. And this was at the very beginning of I don't even think there was a vaccine at the time. This was at the very beginning of it. They were telling people they couldn't go and be with their loved ones when they were dying and stuff. They had people crying saying that they couldn't be with their parents because they had all these restrictions, and we got to go and get the jam on and all the rest of it for the come on. But that's what you can expect. That's why I say they got those old lame office parties anywhere in the galaxy. You should not be surprised if that's what it devolves to. You should be prepared for that. If you have to, I would see if you can get out of it. But if you have to go 30 minutes, once it even looks like it's taking a turn for some up there they go. Well, it's been great. Nope. You all have a great time. I'm sure it'll be fun. I'll see you in work on Monday. Deuces. If you left anything, deuces. It's no going back for it. In fact, like I said, if you have to bring food or whatever, I would try to bring napkins, paper plates or whatever, something that you're going to leave there. If you have to bring a food item, put it in a disposable container that you plan to leave. I'm not taking anything out of here. Keep it. Deuces. See you on Monday. Prime Minister, man, that's so embarrassing, man. See, and that too. How embarrassing is that? You go to an office holiday party. Now you got to testify about your conduct in front of the world 4 years or 3 years later. How embarrassing is that? Got people howling and hooting at you like they don't believe you and such. That's another thing I said too, man. Hey, the workplace, you would be amazed. The things that happen on the job that might be relevant, that you might have to come in front of a court of law and be someone there to transcribe what you got to say and everything. Things that happen in the workplace are very serious. That is not the time to be running off at the mouth and just saying anything and ha 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 and all that. What you say is very serious. Might be called to account for it publicly for all time's sake type of a thing. And Partygate, they got a hashtag for it and everything. It's so embarrassing. Number again, 605-313-5164. The code 564-943#. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Number again, 605-313-5164. The code 564-943#. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. The email untiljustice@gmail.com. untiljustice@gmail.com. Since I did mention Boris Johnson, and that's on the other side of the planet from me, Neutralizing Workplace Racism have folks who've dialed in to participate from lots of different parts of the planet for a long time. Now, I am not intelligent enough, nor do we have time enough to give the corresponding time zones for all of the different parts of the world. However, this program, really all of the COWS programs, come on at the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Every week, no deviation. Neutralizing Workplace Racism, same time, and it's come on at the same time for years. 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific. You can set your watch by it. Really, all of the programs. Now, if you are in a different part of the world, UK I just mentioned, I know that when we've been doing this for so long, that conversion, it is 1 a.m. technically Saturday morning is the live broadcast time. Now, once we move beyond that, I think Japan, it would be 10 a.m. Saturday morning is the broadcast time for Neutralizing Workplace Racism. Always has been, always has, or at least for years now, years and years and years. You'd have to check for the other conversions, but it's always the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. You can set your watch by the COWS. Folks who dialed in, if you have commentary, holiday, office party, store triumphs, hopefully, I was going to say it the other way, but hey, if you figured out how to get through that thing or avoid it painlessly with no penalty, speed dial. Let us know how you did that, or if you figured out how to get through all of that, no issue, no problem. They didn't slip a Mickey in my drink. I didn't get the Swango spicy chicken. Nothing. We hung out for 25 minutes. Deuces, no problem. Everybody loved it. Nothing was said. Next Monday, Beautiful. That's what we want to hear. Folks who dialed in with a hand up, let's see.
Hello.
Black female caller? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. Hopefully everyone's having the best day they can have. Thank you so much for taking my call. I just called to give an update. I'm back at my seasonal position. It's been about 3 weeks. Personally, for me, so far so good. No problems. I've done my training as required. Had meetings, took on a little test, blah, 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 all that good stuff. I think at the end of last season, I said, I didn't do that much. I didn't think they would hire as many people. I am not in charge of anything. I had no idea. They have big plans to be super duper, whatever they are. They hired, I think they have double the people they had doing my job last year. They promoted people all over the place. Good for them, those who wanted to get promoted. I tried to congratulate all of them. But, I am happy for them. But, you want to keep, still make nice and all that. So, congratulations, And like I said, I'm happy for them because I don't want to do it. Good for them. We had a meeting with them. I got a new manager. My old man, I thought they just rotated. I don't know. She is no longer there. I talked to a manager outside of my group because I asked her another question and we were talking. And her direct words was, it was a hot mess regarding my former manager who was white lady. I don't know what happened. Hot mess to me says, danger, danger, mind your business. I go, oh, well, she was nice to me. I don't know what else to do about that. Left that alone. In my new group, the manager so far so okay. But in our group, we have a couple of people who are good at what they do, but they don't have the same job that we do. And there was a white lady, so I have to be careful about. I think I have to be careful about her. Most of the people we've worked together for the past couple of years. We know each other pretty well. This lady, she said, don't be intimidated by us. We're not intimidated by you. So I thought intimidated was a weird choice of words, especially when the people she's talking to took the extra step to get a promotion and have different responsibilities, and you did not. So I thought that was weird. So, someone to look out for. They're pretty company. I look at my meetings and things. I have noticed, even in this one level promotion that I'm in, we see different people from different groups. I have noticed there aren't a lot of, I think, people that may be described as quote unquote Asian, at least visually, their makeup could be, I don't know. But there aren't a lot of them. I don't know if there's just not a lot of them that work for the company. I know there are some, and I know from time to time the ones that I've talked, there was one that I talked to a lot. She had some, I think she had an accent, but, she spoke English. You have to, I don't get the job. But, and I haven't seen many people. From what I see, again, I don't know if that's been classified as, Asian from an East Asian perspective or a South Asian perspective. I know of one manager. I'm not familiar with that person, so I can see the name. And it is an obvious Asian name, so either she is Asian or she married an Asian. But I'm not really that concerned about that. There are, to me, a good number of people who will be considered black within these positions. And again, they are customer service. And I think a lot of black people have customer service positions. However, you do need, I guess not as much as you used to. You need some sort of credential expertise. The first time I worked for this company a long time ago, over 10 years ago, you had to have a credential. That's how I got in. Now, I guess, because they have big plans and they need so many people. And I read an article online that accounting, a lot of people are not majoring in accounting, things like that. So I guess there's room for everybody. So I guess, good for them. And I was, conversing with one of my team members, online, because that's what we have to do, work remotely. And, they were complaining that a lot of the people that we help, they don't read like they're supposed to, which is kind of important when you have people answering tax questions. But I just say if they don't read, it's more job security for us because I have to read. I can't just give them any answer. So I have to read to give them the correct answer. So I know last week, a couple weeks ago, how Black people may not pay attention to things. A lot of people don't pay attention. So if we do start paying attention, there could be a lot of improvement in reading. There could be a lot of improvement in our areas. So, don't give up. The battle, the fight is winnable. But, that is something that we definitely do need to do, strive to read more and understand things more. I think sometimes we overestimate at I want to say a micro level, like maybe the people we deal with every day, how scientific they are. It may depend on the industry. If you work with real scientists, then that may be different. But I think we overestimate all of the things that they do on a micro level. Yes, macro level, we see things, but, on an everyday micro level, they're not all necessarily leading as much as we are and things like that. So we have opportunities and improvements as well. Diabetes is a big problem in America that affects more than just Black people. Again, if we're only supposed to be 14% of the population, I don't think they would be that upset about things like heart attacks and things like that if it was those things mainly affected Black people. Thank you.
Reading more important than watching television. What did the female say about the being intimidated? What did she say?
We were in a group and we were talking, we were just generally talking, and she said, don't be intimidated by us because we're not intimidated by you. And I'm thinking, there are only two of you who have your job, and we all got promoted from that job, and most of us are credentialed and have licenses. Now, she was talking to a mixed group of people, Black, white, quote-unquote Hispanic and everything, but I thought that was a weird choice. That was I won't say weird, but a distinctive choice of words. I would have never thought, I'm thinking, why am I intimidated by somebody who's not promoted in his job for whatever reason? No, I'm not intimidated by you, person whose job is to ask me for help. No, it's not. I'm not intimidated by you.
That is, I was looking for a word too. I don't know. Weird. She was trying to, curious, noteworthy. I don't know, but that would noteworthy. I'd have to ponder on it. Because I probably would not have said in that context the way that you explained it. I probably would not have been thinking that. How? Why would you even say that? That's how weird, how odd. All right. Yes, more reading. And the making an effort to congratulate the folks who got promoted. I do think I am very poor at making nice, evidenced by my 14-year tenure here. But I do think in the workplace that is valuable to be. That's why I say be courteous. That's why I say we're never in the workplace to be mum. Just ignore everybody and you don't talk that is never a part of counter racism, at least not that I recommend. Nothing I've heard Mr. Fuller or Dr. Welsing recommend either. all the time I say, let's not do a whole lot of frivolous, just, mouthing off about nothing, TV programs and that sort of thing, or making a lot of statements either. But hey, congratulations on that promotion. And that's what I said too. Compliments are only for the work. Not complimenting Heather on her new heels. Not telling Susan I like her makeup. No, man. Just on the work. Congratulations on that promotion. You've been working really hard. You deserved it. Hey, love it. Love it. And then they can't say you're not a team player. Like, well, you did give out that congratulations. So that, Love it. Make nice in the workplace. Keep it cordial. And then also, great job not getting into when it seems like folks are about to maybe get into some gossip or whatever. Leave it alone. Always best, especially they're talking about people that you've not had a problem with and that sort of thing. Even if that's not the case, you do not want to get involved with. And oh man, it was a hot mess and all that. And that's that. Anything to say about that? Keep it moving. Like, I don't want to get involved. And same thing we said all the time. You have no idea who else is listening. Is this being recorded? And all the rest of that, like, not getting involved in that at all. I'm trying to minimize with the same thing we just said. Making nice. Sorry that you had a problem about that. It's really a big deal. They know you are not the person to talk to, squash all that or what have you. Or even to do a revisit about all that. So, leave it alone. Much obliged, ma'am. Other folks who dialed in with a hand up, if you have commentary to share, proceed.
May I be heard?
Lauren? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to speak. In the first segment that you played about the paid sick leave, there was a question asked. He said, what happened to the momentum for paid sick leave? I think that's how he worded it. And I'm paraphrasing. The answer was something like, the focus and commitment was not sustained, something along those lines. And I just, I think a more accurate answer, would have been white people really did not care about everyone having paid sick leave. The white people that matter the most already have sick leave. And I think, if they give it to everyone, they'll have to give it to non-white people, and white people don't really want to do that. The segment about the black lady who was a law enforcement officer, I noticed it said something about the Pasadena police discriminated against her. I don't know if they used the word racism. I'm not sure. But the part that really caught my attention was, when it said that somebody pushed a teen's face into a cactus. And it just made me think about that term, creative destruction, from that book, The Half Has Never Been Told. It just, it seems like whites are at their most inventive when they're thinking of a way to mistreat or a way to destroy. That's when they're at their, I don't want to call it best, the most inventive probably. Well, even the term creative, it's weird because it makes it seem like something is being produced, and the only thing really being produced is mistreatment and non-justice. Also, that lady, they put her, Tyson Crutchfield, they put her on paid admin leave for 6 months without being told why. Now, people can't get sick leave, but if you intervene to stop the mistreatment of a non-white person, you won't be allowed to go to work. Now, it is paid admin leave, so that's better than, being on leave without pay. I just thought that was an interesting contrast. Let me see. The Canvas, the restaurant guy, the Kansas City Restaurant Association, I did notice that he said it was a real weird time with the political divide, racial divide, COVID, George Floyd. Racial divide, I guess I know what COVID and George Floyd means, but I think white people acting in a non-just manner or acting in a racist manner, that's not unusual. So, I don't think that's weird. And he used the term bringing people together when he was talking about the Combine. I'm also not sure what that means. On a personal, on my end, in the workplace, I did not RSVP for the Christmas party. They had a virtual Christmas party via Zoom this week, so I attended that. And I figured, hey, if someone asked me, why I'm not going to this other Christmas party, I could say, hey, I already did one Christmas party. They kept sending emails, please RSVP, RSVP by this time. And they wanted people to RSVP before they even knew where the Christmas party was going to be. And it's like at a restaurant at 6 p.m., this is outside of working hours. I don't know what the drinking situation is going to be. And I also don't have anyone to go with me. And then I would have to go pay for a meal at a restaurant I didn't even know where it was. And, be interacting. Well, actually, I interact with the rest of the people on the job in a courteous manner. I only have problems with the one white woman. But after the list came out and my name wasn't on there, a black female coworker contacts me and it's like, oh, you're not going to the Christmas party, and I just was honest. I said, no, I didn't want to go this year. It's, I'm trying to save money. I don't want to go to a restaurant. It's outside of business hours. Gas is really expensive. These seem like reasonable things to me. And it seems like she RSVP'd, and now she doesn't actually want to go, so she's trying to think of a way to not go. And so I just think it's probably best that I never responded and RSVP'd. And that Christmas party, the thing on Zoom, it was, I don't know, it wasn't terrible, but they had some ugly sweater contests. And they had a word scramble, which I thought was interesting. And the white people, they unscrambled those words so fast. And there was also like a talent show that was basically the white woman riding a horse. And then there was two black ladies with wigs on, lip singing and acting silly. And then there was another thing where they made a video of Christmas elves. And they were dancing around, and they had the faces of non-white female employees photoshopped onto the elves. So I think that was kind of tacky, and everybody's acting silly except the white person. So I don't know, just sharing that with you guys, and that's all I have.
You said they did the talent show, and the white woman rode a horse, like a real horse, or like stuffed animal?
Yeah, she has horses. Like, this a white lady with money. It was just a video of her riding a horse that was played on the Zoom.
Man. We read about that this year. My old Kentucky home. Man. What was your talent? Did you ride a horse? What did you do for the talent show?
I tried to maintain silence, but I did try to do the word scramble, and I was only able to get maybe 5 or 6 of the words and barely on time. And the white people, they unscrambled those words so fast and got them all correct. I mean, it wasn't just getting the words either. We had to type them out. I don't know. I didn't participate that much. Just I was there.
White people and their... Why are we 2 steps behind? I'm still trying to... Wait a minute. I'm going to get it. Persecute. Done. Boom. Wait a minute. I'm still trying. 2 steps behind. Hey, I told you. One reason for that is brown first the Board of Education at Topeka, Kansas. That's one reason. Anyway, much obliged. She said that she did not RSVP. I remember that because they didn't even know where it was going to be at. They didn't have on there we're going to be at the Combine or wherever we're going to go eat at, alcohol, no alcohol. We don't have enough details, but yes, I'm going to be there. I'm like, nah, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. And then when she finds like, nah, I'm good. I did the virtual, and that's great. Like, you can tell them it's not even like I stood you all up. I did the virtual one. I'm broken. Hey, that's always A+. I'm hurting. Man, last Christmas about wiped me out. I don't even have an extra nickel. I'm hurting. I don't have $5 to spend on nothing. Gas, nothing. I'm hurting. I go to work. I go home. I don't eat out. I don't do none of that. I'm just trying to get to next year. What can they say? Man, that is. You colored folks are bad with money. That's in the half has never been told. Can't let the niggers have money. They get little pieces of lint, see. What can they say? All right, well, we sure gonna miss you. It would be nice. We had the whole karaoke set up. We had Biz Markie ready to roll just for you. Like, yeah. She said she watched. Now, what are they doing at the Christmas party? Just being silly. That's exactly what Fuller said. We talked to him. I told you that's his fourth visit where he said that's about what you can. That's the best you can expect. Silly, tacky. See if we can Photoshop something on the black employees. All of this is way better if you're intoxicated, of course. Doesn't get any better than tacky. And then they do the word games. Always do the word and have Negro pop up as one of the words to unscramble. Like, yeah, if they do a virtual Christmas party, I would always opt for that one. You can study, see, Lauren did, see what they do, and all the rest. Just, I'm here to observe, take note, record, screen capture maybe, and that's it. You can dip 30 minutes. You can dip, be doing your own thing, and whatever the case may be. But yeah, always, and then you can tell them too. I'm not standing you up. I was at the virtual one. You didn't see me. You weren't there. See, you didn't go. You better go and make sure you're there because I was already there. I did the virtual. We had a great old time. I got pictures and everything. Screenshots of inappropriate behavior. Let's see. Much obliged, Lauren. Number again, 605-313-5164. The code 564943 pound. Press *61 if you would like to participate. The email untiljustice@gmail.com. untiljustice@gmail.com. Let us know if you have any, folks, if you are entrepreneurs, restaurant business in particular. That'd be interesting to know. If you have, how have you faced racism within all of that? All right, how has the 2 steps behind manifested in your business, or is that the case? Let us see. I'll read one email, and then we'll nab some of the other callers. Email number 1. Hi, Gus, Kyle's audience, and callers. 1. The racist ex-manager left over about 2 months ago, but I'm still dealing with her toxic legacy. The racist did a 2-week handover when my black manager started, and I'm sure she said negative things about me and lies. 90% of the time, my non-white black manager is very supportive and great to work with, but I think there are things in the back of mind that she hasn't discussed with me, influencing her at times. I also think the racist said negative things to our director too, which influences what he says about me to my non-white black manager. I think that is the case pretty much for all non-white people. That's just the system of white supremacy, racism. That's why I said that gossip. Any time where they slip into, oh, he was a hot mess and all that, and even if they're talking about another white person, as soon as you leave, 2, my non-white black manager confides in me at times and has been open about incorrect things happening to me that I may not be aware of. Wow, that is stunning. Black self-respect, right? We've heard that a few times where another black person kind of pulled someone to the side and, hey, they are trying to mess you over about such and such. I think Victim in New Jersey and some other folks even said that they had a black person tell them, like, they're shaking up management, and I think they're going to be getting rid of black people. Like, see if you can find a new job ASAP. You didn't hear that from me, though, black brother. Like, I mean, hey, that is the hook. And it turned out she was right, and he was able to avoid and, boom, make a better move for himself before all that went down. But, I mean, do not expect this from your black sisters, black brothers, non-white people in general in the workplace. Like, I cannot highlight that enough. I'm not saying it won't ever happen. I'm just saying do not make this something that you expect is going to be the case for you in a workplace situation. Like, no way, shape, form. Wow. Black self-respect, though. So, okay, she says that some things have been happening you're not aware of. The other 10% of the time, she has me on edge. Out of nowhere, she will go on the attack and put me in my place. Whether that is because she doesn't want me to forget that she's my manager, which I never do, or because she is crazy, I'm not sure which. Hey, what's that metaphor that they say, to keep you on your toes, so to speak? Like, that is really stressful, but I mean, hey, we do not have homies and such in the workplace. Like you always, it's appreciated and such. Person is kind or nice to you, but that does not mean that they're going to be kind or nice 2 days later, even 2 minutes later. And you still do not think that this is a black sister, black brother, comrade in arms, none of the above. And they're stressed too, other victims of white supremacy. And as she said, you never know who's saying other things to them, and that influences how they think. So the best is always remember, united, independent, especially in the workplace, united, independent. We do not have teammates. 3. I had my performance appraisal in October, which went well. The one negative comment about me was delegating more to support staff. She said there are things that I should delegate so that I can do the things someone at my level should be doing. It made no sense to me, as we had technically only started working together for 2 weeks. So I wasn't sure how she had made that assessment. I put it down to the racist ex-manager lying about how I managed the non-white black female who no longer reports to me. They were undermining me and bypassing me and claiming the issue was my management skills. I have managed project teams before joining this organization and have more experience than the racist ex-manager. 4. My non-white black manager was referring to the chubby white girl, I'll call her Molly, who is the same grade level as the non-white black female who no longer reports to me. Molly had joined the organization at the beginning of October, so wasn't around long enough for there to have been an issue of me not delegating to her, and I'm not her manager. Molly was reporting to work avoidant Wanda, formerly known as incompetent Carrie. 5. The usual practice would be to move Molly's line management to me when work avoidant Wanda left the team. Instead, my manager is line managing Molly. I put that decision down to the negative judgment of my management skills, even though no one has said it to me directly. I have not challenged it because I don't particularly want to manage staff. It's too much hassle, and my wages haven't changed. Now, that would be the big one. You add all that anxiety and stress and what have you, and I don't get a few extra nickels in all this. Like, come on. That doesn't mean I don't realize that I am being mistreated. That is for sure important. 6. When my new black manager gave me the feedback about delegating more, I didn't get mad. Good job. I responded positively, asking her to let me know what she wants me to delegate and when Molly has capacity to take on more work, as I don't have oversight of her workload. She said she would do so. Right on. 7. My manager was on leave Wednesday. Molly didn't have any work to do, so she asked me if there was anything she could help with. I asked her to do some research for me, which would feed into a report I was writing. My manager returned to work on Thursday. I sent her my draft report for comments. I had made a note in the report that I would need to add more information once Molly finished the report I had tasked her to do. 8. My manager left the following comment. I know we discussed you asking Molly to help out, and I'm generally happy for you to do so, but I prefer you to discuss it with me before you ask Molly to pick up any work. You don't have much work at the moment, so I don't understand why you didn't do that task yourself. I was so shocked. It felt like a gut punch. Heard that second time, didn't they? They said that in the Canadian segment about the no getting. They just punching pow. They just body punches left and right. Pow, 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 pow. Gut punch everybody. As far as I know, no one has ever accused me of palming my work off to others, and that would contradict her feedback that I need to delegate more. I think lots of non-white people in the workplace have experienced this particular type of gut punch, where you get a review or you get some sort of direct feedback from someone in power, authority in a workplace environment, and they tell you to do, X, Y, and Q. And you go out and you do X, Y, and Q. And you're like, whoa. Who told you to do X, Y, and Q? No. You don't do. That's not the way we do it. We do it around here. P, O, and F. Coming around here doing X, Y, and Q. And you sound like, what? Wait a minute. I thought you. Wait. Did we just? That's why I always say it is amazing having it written down there. This one, she even puts it. Well, I know we did talk about this and all. It might seem like I'm being hypocritical, but that's not the case. Just run it by me. You weren't even here the day. Man, y'all are killing me. Like literally, because this is exactly how this is another part of how we end up being 20 steps behind. Always helpful to have it written down. You want me to do more delegating? I try to delegate, and now, whoa. You come to me before you delegate. You don't just run around here getting Molly and getting on her nerves to do your, like, whoa, y'all are killing me. Let's see. 9, I replied to her comment explaining exactly what happened. She hasn't responded. Oh, seen that one before where they ignore, like you have some sort of really wild, zany situation happen, and then they just, I've said all I'm going to say on it. Dang. She continues, I literally don't know whether I'm coming or going. That is generally exactly what racists intend, to have us non-white people. I don't know whether I'm coming or going. I don't know what day is it. Where was I born? What's my name? That's exactly. Don't know nothing. Am I male? Am I female? Racism? There's no racism. What are you talking about? What's going on? See, Marvel, what's going on? It's 51 years now. What's going on? I don't know. What time is it? I don't know. What's happening? I don't know. I think that's one of Norman Lear's shows. What's happening? Had overweight black people on that one too. We don't know. We still don't know. That's right at the end of Monsters Ball. Got Halle Berry sitting there next to a race soldier that killed old Diddy. That's where he's supposed to be at. See, they were trying to tell us then that No Cap Diddy belonged in jail. See, but she said, I'm befuddled. I don't know what to happen. I've been stymied, flummoxed, confusion. Let's see. Don't know whether I'm coming or going. Every other week, I can expect some sort of reprimand from her about small things which she has either misunderstood or taken offense to, even though she's generally positive about me and my work. It's making me so anxious that John Henry-ism. And it seems like a lot of it is just unnecessary. Anxiety and such. This is one of those where I think like, dang, so if this had been work avoiding Wanda, do I think she would have been subject to the same level of scrutiny? I'm not sure. It's number 10. I had a health scare in September. I was also dealing with extreme anti-blackness from the Asian male who was appointed to oversee a project I was working on at the time. My non-white black manager made me aware of the extent of his mistreatment, which fed into my decision not to apply for the role I was doing temporarily at that time. She said the extent of his mistreatment. Interesting. Well, I mean, hey, if you're classified as non-white, you are a victim of white supremacy. Now, black get back. Absolutely. But if you're non-white, I mean, hey, you're supposed to be mistreated and all the rest of it. So it would not surprise me at all if this non-white so-called Asian male, he might be mistreating you and anti-black to you and all the other people classified as black, but hey, yellow is not white. Pearl Harbor was yesterday, man. I forgot I meant to say something about that on the book club. December 7th, Day of Infamy. Man, Japs, we remember you. Jap, get out of here. That's Oppenheimer. I've been talking about Oppenheimer all year, right? 10. I had a health. Oh, we read that one. Health scares are so important. I cannot just hop over that one. Health scares are important. We were just talking about sick paid leave, right? That's why that is so important. Particularly everything that she said in this email. Now we're at 11, but everything that she said in the email. When you are on a job where you have high levels of anxiety, and especially unnecessary anxiety, and people sabotaging your work, you don't know whether you're coming or going, and this is long running. This is not like you just have a rough day. This is long running anxiety and stress from the workplace that leads to health scares, lack of well-being. They call it disease, not being at ease, because they got me anxious about everything. These white people sabotaging me and stuff. That is important. Definitely recognize that and make time, see a healthcare professional, even journal about, even that could be a part of your workplace journaling. Your health. How am I feeling? Is the work getting to me to the point where it's impacting how I feel, my ability to rest, my ability to live, my quality of life? That is something to, that's why she said, hey, I was seeing that there was a problem with all this. That's why I didn't even go through with applying for that different position, because I already saw it was going to be even more anxiety. Excellent. Always got to look out for your health and well-being. Nothing more important. COVID should have, that would be one big lesson from all this COVID-19 pandemic. 11, I told my manager that I was dealing with some personal issues, but I didn't go into details, not least because I was undergoing tests. I was given the all clear at the end of November. I was forced to let her know about it because I wanted to avoid another reprimand. I was working from home and my Wi-Fi went down for a few hours. Whenever there are issues, I'll let her know. Usually it will only last for a short while. That's in Nairobi Thompson's book, Almost British Revisited, where she talks about sometimes either at work having difficulties, they're sabotaging, and then the Wi-Fi, if it doesn't connect or it doesn't allow you to connect to certain information and resources from the job, their internal network, and it's all shiftless Negro, she doesn't want to work, she's slacking, see, slack, you're not working from home, you're just slack, that sort of thing. Where, like I said now, wandering Wanda, incompetent Wanda, and all the rest of it, Work avoidant, that's it. Work avoidant Wanda, are they subject to the same scrutiny? She continues, 12, on a different occasion, I emailed her before from my personal account using my mobile to let her know my Wi-Fi was down. She either did not receive the email or she read it late because she questioned me at that time about what had happened, even though we were on a call when my Wi-Fi failed. Yep, that's very similar to the types of things Nairobi Thompson describes. 13, when my Wi-Fi went down at the end of November, I contacted Molly at 9:30 a.m., but the message didn't get through our company firewall until 1:30 p.m. I asked her to contact me using my personal email. I spoke to her and asked her to let my manager know I had been in touch, not expecting there to be a problem. About 5 minutes after our call, Molly emailed my manager's mobile number and said that she wanted me to call her directly. I knew I was due for another reprimand. I didn't call her because at that time I was keeping my line free as I was expecting my doctor to call with my results. Now that, I mean, disease, it can't just be, you know, I'm dealing with some health issues. Oh, my word. Take all the time you need. My goodness. Get yourself right. You'll be back. If you need to take the rest of the week off, just let us know. We'll coordinate. Nothing is more valuable than your health. That's the sort of work environment that I want to be in. Not all of this. Like, we heard about you. 14. The following day, my manager messaged me with my reprimand stating that it was not acceptable for her to not know my whereabouts for a whole day and that we would need to discuss it. Molly did pass on my message, so what she said wasn't true. I messaged back summarizing what happened and that I emailed her before, but I wasn't sure she received the message, which was why I reached out to Molly. I also explained that I was waiting for a call from my doctor. 15, I was in two minds whether I would tell her about my medical concerns, but I knew she would ask me when we met. In the end, I did tell her enough without going into a lot of details, but enough to know it was serious, mainly because I knew another unwarranted reprimand was coming and mentally I couldn't take it. I explained that even though I had been given the all clear the previous day, mentally I'm still processing it because it's been an extremely worrying period and it will take a while. I didn't get a reprimand that day. 16, she told me she had noticed that I had a few doctor appointments. I explained to her that I hadn't said anything because I didn't know what was happening because everything was unknown until I had completed the tests. Yesterday we had our divisional meeting. I don't know if it was a coincidence or planned, but someone from the Well-Being Network was invited to talk about mental health, etc. At the end of his presentation, he invited questions. My manager asked what he would advise managers to do if they have someone in their team who is unwell but chooses not to disclose to their manager. That is clowning. Mental health is not funny. That is super important, but I think we've had a number of folks who have talked about in the workplace, even mental health can be used, not that we're concerned about your health and well-being and that we want to provide resources to you, time, whatever you need, give yourself the opportunity to heal and recuperate fully, come back and contribute to the organization, but to use that against you so we can hurry up and get you out of here anyway. We regret kind of hiring you to begin with. So, I mean, hey, got a medical clearance? Yep, great. That'll be our reason to get you on down the road. Good riddance, that type of a thing. So it can be difficult to discern, is it even worth it to shit, even if you work with non-white people, have a non-white manager, all classified as black, even then. Should I share? Are they going to keep this to themselves? Are they going to be sympathetic? Are they going to then come and micromanage me further? Ask lots of details about my, is this really going to benefit me to share this information? I think many, many folks in the system of white supremacy would answer no. Absolutely not. At minimum, it would not be something that I would be gleeful about having to divulge this information about my health and well-being or lack thereof to people that I work with, even one person that I work with. Man. 17, sorry. I was stunned. I'm certain that she was aimed at me. Someone who really cares about my well-being would not mention it. I've been at work and delivered everything that was expected of me over the period, despite what I was dealing with. In stark contrast to people who either don't turn up to work and are useless when they do. That, on top of the reprimand earlier that day for asking Molly to do some research for me, left me with a migraine all day, even though my manager was on leave today. That's exactly what I said. How would you not end up with some sort of physiological result, really adverse result after all of this? Like I said, it would be different if you just, it was a stressful Monday. That comes with the job, or that comes with life, right? It was a stressful Monday, or it was a stressful week. This is just on and on and on. Man, that sort of thing I would have to process now. Do I think it's going to be like another 5-10 years of this? I would have to process. Work should not be to the point where you really are feeling like, man, this is having a bit debilitating impact on my health, headaches and doctor's appointments and all this, and they're even being resistant and nosy about my doctor's appointments and all the rest of that. Just, man, those would be red flags, at least for me. No job is worth health and well-being. Pam wrote about that as well, where a lot of us can be in work situations that are so noxious and racist that, man, we end up near a breakdown, death, or some other major health complications where you might not even be able to function on the job. So that is something to take very, very seriously. No job is worth your health and well-being. If that means getting towards an exit strategy, that means being able to use some personal days where this is not a doctor's day off. This is, hey, it's holiday time now, so they don't know. Pack it. We're wrapping gifts. We got to get the gifts wrapped for the family and all that. Oh, okay. Like, whatever. If it's time off to just recharge, get away from all this for a minute. But, man, that is difficult to hear, but that is what is supposed to happen to us in the system of white supremacy. Really, that is the result of, over a long period of time, I can't get my bearings. I don't know which way to turn. I don't know what's happening. That's the result. 18. I'm pretty stressed and still processing what I've been through. I need some well-being days out of the office. Echo. But I'm holding out as we're short-staffed and I have 2 weeks leave over the Christmas and New Year period. I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't, so I will see how I feel after the weekend. I'm trying to look at my calendar here. Let's see. So 2 weeks is definitely juicy. So 2 weeks at the Christmas. So we will assume that this will start on the 25th, since that's the top of the week. Christmas this year is on a Monday. So we'll assume that this 2 weeks starts on the 25th, or that her last day working is the 22nd. So that's a full 2 weeks of work. Today's the 8th. That is exactly 2 weeks from today. If possible, I might she says she's going to see how she feels on Monday. Always great. See how you feel after you've had a weekend to get away from all of that, sleep a little bit, eat some refreshing food, get a hike, maybe be around some people that care about you, that kind of recharge you. But see how you feel. You might need a day off. It's stressful anyway. White people, I think black female caller told us that white people have a lot of anxiety. Many white people say that this is a high stress time of year anyway. Goofy Santa and bills and all the rest of it, and family and travel and all that. It's stressful anyway. So I would see how you feel on Monday. If you need an extra day off, taking extra. Like I said, you can say, hey, gotta get these gifts packed, man. Family is doing this, and gotta go do some last minute shopping. Like, oh, okay. And take your mental health day. But yeah, if you can make it, that is a full 2 weeks. I say that red flag. And really, real talk. They got work avoiding Wanda and all these racists, even her former manager. Remember, she was so lame. She was supposed to get promoted, and then they didn't even give her the job. They hired all of these lame white people. If they are understaffed or having shortages or whatever it is, that is because they are lame. I do not think, particularly in a period of where we're having difficulties and health crises, like if they had your back, I would look at it this way. If they had your back like that when you were going through your health situation right now, and right on, time off, and send you a fruit basket and, fresh bushel of figs and get well soon card from Molly and all the rest, like, okay, I'm going to be down and make sure I help them. But I mean, really, it's easy to say it's not my job and all the rest of it, but I mean, man, that would not be, their well-being and staffing concerns would not be as much of a priority. I would just say that. I know we all want to pitch in on the job and do well, but I mean, Jesus, they will John Henry us into the grave, literally. And then snicker about it the whole time, come to our wake and what have you, and complain. She got these dry chicken fingers at the wake here. That's what I would expect, but she was cheap and lazy in life, and she's cheap and lazy right on to the end. And that's what they'll do, right? Mock us at the funeral, man. I say take an extra day off before the 20th, because 2 weeks is a long time of harass, because they'll probably have some sort of goofy reprimand, unwarranted reprimand between now and then as well. I'd say take a day off between now and then to make sure that you get to the 25th, and then you can really kick back for 2 weeks. That's just me. Anyway, number again, 605-313-5164, the code 564943#. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Let's see, folks that we missed totally. If you have commentary to share, lines should be open. Saw other folks with hands. I don't know if they got dropped out or missed them along the way. But folks that we missed, if you have commentary, feel free. Other folks, if you have either observations, what we heard, caller who just wrote in, or your own thoughts to share, feel free. Star 61 for folks who called in as well. Let's see.
Hey, Gus, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am. Lauren.
So you were talking about compliments earlier and how you only give them related to work. I completely understand the logic of that, but I do, when I see Black people, especially Black females, and they have natural hair, I do like to say something about it, like, oh, I think your hair is so pretty, or something like that. And I was wondering if you think that could be a problem, and if so, how?
My normal answer for a while to that one was Bill Cosby, but I guess now I can switch that one up to Diddy. I can be more in with the times. Now, it might be different for a Black female or non-white female, and you want to give that compliment to another Black female. I know that Pam was a big advocate of that and supporting and just complimenting even other Black females to other Black females, just having something courteous to say. And, oh, your hair looks so nice, especially like you were saying, if it's natural, so-called, not chemically mutilated, like, oh, that's great, love to see your hair and all of that. I would say for a male, no. I still would not in a workplace. Like, now, if it's away from work and you want to do that, great. For a workplace, I still would not do that. Same thing I said before. Same things that I've said before. You don't know who could overhear that and take that another way. You don't even know how she could take that. Same thing I said today, that this United Independent, that is not my black brother and sister just because they are there with melanin and their nice kinky hair and such. That is United Independent. Nothing has changed. Now, if it's another female, that might be, you certainly wouldn't have that, or I don't think it would be as pressing that, oh my God, might have raping Leroy out, trying to flirt with the female staff members here. That might not be as pressing a concern. Yeah, that might be a little different for a female. I can't see that being as causing a problem as readily. I just know that now I could see, actually I would have to, same thing I just said, hey, this is not happening where it's just you all there. I wouldn't even want that. I'm not a black female, obviously, but I wouldn't even want that conversation. And then some white person hears it and they want to hop in and talk about this or what have you, and then they want to come and talk about natural hair. Like, if this is something that I can do discreetly, nobody else around, that sort of thing, great. But even then I would still, like, this is not my black sister or whatever. Like, if it's going to just be, hair looks great today, that's nice, we keep moving, great. I would have less concerns about it. Black female, non-white female to non-white female, I would have a lot less concerns about it. But even still, in the workplace, I really try and disincentivize focus on clothing, jewelry, hair, exterior, anything of that nature. Like, let's just keep the focus on the workplace and leave all that. Because I think we'd even said before, some of the females, same hairstyle, bam, that's always what you see every day. It doesn't change, bam, this is just what it is every day. But yeah, I could see a lot less concerns. I could see some black self-respect in that as well. I put it this way, for a black male, absolutely not. I would not say that black female to black female. But for a black male, Bill Cosby, man, Bill Cosby.
Okay, thank you.
If other folks have a thought on that one, you can let us know. Compliments in the workplace. This is specifically about hair. Giving a compliment on the hair. Do you see where could there be any problem with that one? Seems like there would be less of an issue. Non-white female compliment for hair. Black female to black female. It seems like it would be less of an issue. Like I said, now, unless a white person does overhear that would kind of be a one that I can think of in the moment. But yeah, if you all have thoughts on that one, let me know as well. I'm still a big advocate of the compliments are just reserved for the work, taking the focus off of exterior attire and clothing, that sort of thing. Because I don't even want people focused on that. Like, let's just talk about the work that we are doing. So they try and get us into the ugly sweater and all that old silliness too. Let's see. Make sure I didn't miss any of the emails either. untiljustice@gmail.com. untiljustice@gmail.com. Oh, I did miss some. untiljustice@gmail.com. I'll read email number 2, see if some of the folks that we missed who dialed in, if they have thought to share. Email number 2. Since last week's call-in, Since last week's call-in, this is Irie. She dialed in last week to tell us she was working for a nonprofit. They're supposed to be doing a program with children in the Louisiana area. I think literacy is supposed to be a component of this program, but I think she was telling us last week that they weren't really focusing or emphasizing that aspect too much. To her chagrin, she tried to speak up about it, and they kind of rebuffed her question about all of this. So the follow-up. Since last week's call-in, the organization's founder has taken a stronger stance on programming, quite different from the nonchalant position I reported. He told us it's time for us to get serious about programming, which was a bit insulting considering I'd been saying that since July. But okay. he's hired his daughter to oversee the poetry and literacy program versus continuing with the teen who admitted to prolonged anxiety, that is our word of the day, and not knowing literary poetry related terms. He said his daughter can really write, but still have to see that because her children are part of the program, fourth graders, and they did know what an adjective, they didn't know what an adjective was last week as well. I hope that's they did know. Hope that they did know what an adjective is last week as well, because I remember last week she told us that they talked to the group of children and they, like, basic parts of speech, they did not understand at all. They seemed totally clueless about the lesson and, what they were talking about and everything. So I think he's getting serious because the two other NPOs have recently lost $700,000 grants due to mismanagement and inability to show effectiveness. As long as we honestly try this time to reach our prescribed literacy objectives, I'm okay. That's all for now. Man, she did tell us about that last week, that she tried to, broach this gently, and, they kind of rebuffed her about what the program was going to be and all of that. And I remember last week telling her, at least I said, I would leave it alone. I wouldn't go back and try and, force it on them and grouse and complain like you said something. If there are people there that are more powerful than you and they're not interested in changing this up or kind of looking at some of these issues, just let it go. Maybe they have a different idea in mind for what the program is supposed to do. But hey, I guess now going in a different direction. Got some more people in to look at all of this. Man, since we've heard it again, reading is more important than watching television. I think Irie told us last week that part of the reason that this program was tied to literacy and all this funding that maybe some folks are concerned about losing, if that's the motivation, fine, was because that they said that there might be some sort of relationship between illiteracy rates and violence in the Louisiana area. And I said, man, that seems pretty plausible. No reason to doubt that at all. Reading, if that's what all this is supposed to be about, and that's what the money, the grant, this nonprofit, the folks have this job, this nonprofit job, to work with these children and do this program. Well, hey, let's try to do the best job that we can. As she said, I can live with that. Let's try to do the best job that we can and help these children read, at least make some improvements. This is where they came in at. Bam, this is where they are at now, and there has been some growth. No, we didn't solve the total problem, and, maybe they're not going to write a book today. Maybe they're not going to read Yurugu today, but they're closer. Give us a little bit more time, and, but again, the throwaway, that's why Dr. Welsing talked about that. Man, think about all of this in advance. Maybe even once you get to the point of thinking, maybe we should have children. What do you think? You got your care mate and all this. We get along and we've done our questions and all of that. Hey, maybe before you get to the bedroom, get those books together. Maybe before we'll have a child. We got a library already working on that. So it's not going to be, oh man, reading. Yeah, I wonder if we can get, nope. By the time they got here, we already had, and I mean, it's already scaled. So we already got books for when they got here and they're 3, 4, 5. Bam, we got those. We already got books for down the road, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Boom, we got some of those already, and we'll obviously be adding as we go. But hey, we already got that library. Bang. Reading more important than watching television. Much obliged, Irie. Email again, untiljustice@gmail.com. The number 605-313-5164. The code 564943 #. Press *61 if you would like to participate. Other folks, if you have thoughts, ideas on, if you have suggestions about dealing with the holiday parties, we got another month or so of all that goofiness to navigate. If you have any tips on that, any the commentary that you've heard from listeners, participants so far today, if you have your own situation, let us know. 605-313-5164, the code 564-943#. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. We'll give folks like another 5 or so if they have additional observations, comments, questions to share, unless they're spectating and such.
Hello?
Our black female caller? Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I guess no one else has anything to say this time. But I did want to, one of the callers talked about games at work. During our training, or sometimes they have games during the season, kind of, change up our situation so it's not as monotonous, I guess. But during our training, we had games at the end of the session. Now, they were different. They were very constructive. They were kind of a recap of what happened during the training, see if we were paying attention, stuff like that. You didn't necessarily win a prize, but they had like a little contest thing. And one of the questions was, what kind of resources will you use to help you do your job? What's the most important resource? So, there was no quote-unquote right answer for it. So people say, the team members, blah, blah, blah. But someone did say drugs, and it came up. I don't know who. They know who. I don't know who. They said drugs, and I have to give it to them. They said, now look, we are having fun, but this is a workplace event. Drugs is not an appropriate answer. I was like, thank God, because white people love to talk about drugs at work. I don't know what's up with that. So they were like, nope. They're like, that is not an appropriate answer. Do not bring that up. Alcohol, drugs, those things are not, supported here at work. So I thought that was positive. And then this is a different place. I don't know about other places, but this place is very different. I had a meeting with my manager. We have one after we finish our training to make sure we finish our training, go over things. And he's like, make sure you get every hour. This company has a lot of money. Go and write it down, get paid. I'm like, okay. And then even during the training, which they told us about this policy, but this is the first time they put it in the training to make sure we do get reimbursement for our internet because we need to use our internet. So, there's, overall, I have to give it to them. I guess, they want to maintain their reputation as being one of the top 20 Amaya companies. And they do actually give, if you're a full-time employee there, or another term they have, it's not full-time, but it's a term within the company. They have what's called recharge days. So after, I think they get the day before Thanksgiving, sometime in July. And I know after Christmas through the end of the year, they get paid time off. It's called recharge days, and they go away and do something. I'm seasonal, so I have to work during those times, but it's not busy. So those recharge days are outside of the time we're busy, so they get to go and spend time with their family. So, yay, taxes. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
I love it. Amazing. Get reimbursed for the Wi-Fi. We talked about that last week, man. I'd never heard about that until last week. We had the segment from Harvard Business Review podcast and HBRcast, and they said, when you go in and you ask for your raise, where they're cheating you and not giving you overtime compensation and such, they said, we can't give you a raise. I said, well, you can compensate me for my Wi-Fi. And they said that they do that in some instances. Like, that is right on. Love it. Rack that up. Let me see. What she said, the wellness days or whatever it is, or recharge days, or whatever they have, love it. Now, I'm sure that is not widespread, at least that's my assessment, where most people, I don't think, work at jobs and such where they get those type of recharge day. You just get a random day in July or the day before Thanksgiving or whatever else as a personal wellness day to just go home and sleep in late and recharge so you can come in and feel refreshed or what have you. But if they don't give it to you as a company policy, you can use your personal days and all of that strategically so that you get those. And just recognizing, I think all of us get programmed, all of us being non-white people, we get conditioned. Now, we got to work double, triple shifts and kill myself and sacrifice for the company and show them I'm a hardworking black person. Like, no. John Henryism. Do competent work. I'm not saying go and slack at all. I hope we've never said that. I hope no one, thinks that we've said that. But I am saying certainly do not feel like I can go in and they will not treat and think of me as a nigger if I go in here and work every shift and double shifts and slave away and do every possible thing no, you're just a nigger. Period. So, love it. Utilize all of the resources and such they give you. I don't know who said that, but man, love it. They got plenty of money. Make sure you get all of your hours. Don't leave a penny on the table. You get every second that you exactly. I'm not here to work for free. I'm not on no company discount. We don't have it like that. Get all of your money, and that's all of it. That's why I said the wage theft for the sanitation workers in Missouri, like they have apps and such, so you can track to make sure that they're not gypping you. If you worked 55 hours, for them to come back and say that you worked 40 hours and then all the rest of it, make sure you know the law for your local jurisdiction so they can't cheat you out of the extra pay for those hours. But man, they do as much as they can to steal and rob and all that, and then work us twice as hard. Much obliged to our female caller. Keep it up. Love it. Love it. Maybe they'll be able to bring her on. She can impress them. Well, I don't know if she wants to. She said she's seasonal. Maybe they'll bring her on full time so then she can get to go on the long retreats and such. They camp out, go to the woods and do all the game. They have to do karaoke and such once they...
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm fantastic. I'm trying to start my own business. I'm fantastic. They tried to give us extra hours. They was like, oh, yeah, we'll give you extra hours next week. We insisted they hired them in. And they was like, oh, a lot of those hours will be on the phone. I was like, my personal thing, I'm too uppy to go back to the phone. You guys really need me to go back to the phone. So no. I'm fantastic. Thank you.
Love it. She's got her plan together. So I'm opening my own business. Love it. Love it. That's the same thing Mr. Nealon said. I started from the bottom, learned as much as I could, all that constructive information. Bam, went out and started my own business. Love it. Love it. Love it. She can have her own organized retreats for her employees and such. They can do wellness retreats and do a little yoga, eat some healthy food. Love it. Let's see. Any of the other folks' commentary, they want to make sure they get in, make sure we didn't miss any of the folks who had a hand up. I'll keep an eye on the email as well, untiljustice@gmail.com. Let's see. Other folks with a hand up commentary to share.
Greetings, everyone.
Retired firefighter in Florida.
Yes, I have been wrestling with the question that came up about I think it was complimenting on hair. I also think as a male, it would be kind of complicated to do that in the workplace. Although, on the surface, I wouldn't have any problem with it. And I think for specific reasons, but also in the workplace, I mean, that can even be considered at some point in time harassment. As far as a male is concerned to a female in the work environment. I have witnessed on how things can get twisted in a very short period of time. Also, it may cause a situation to where it can filter, especially if a white person hears it and wants to get involved, filter into a much more broader conversation. I think you mentioned something similar to that, and that does happen. White people do pay attention to us on these jobs, and they do butt into even something that's called private conversations. Maybe if I, work with the person for a very long time, and may have had some sort of social contact, then, it may be, something that I would be comfortable into doing. Like I said, on the surface, of course I wouldn't have any problem with that. Matter of fact, it should be encouraged. But in the workplace, it makes it very, very complicated. There was something. I would hear the term John Henryism a lot, and I think I have an understanding what it is. There was an incident that took place down here. I don't know, within the last 24 hours, something like that, where black male employee of a liquor store. He was just an employee. He wasn't an owner or anything like that. He was just an employee. Somebody came in to, I wouldn't say rob the place, but some guy went into the liquor store to took a bottle of liquor out and was on his way out. And here comes the non-white black male. He's going to go and recover this item from the person who was taking it out of the store. In turn, he got shot in the stomach. So I've actually seen it a lot. It also happened in that incident that took place in Alabama. I thought that was the term that fit with the black male who was on the boat that basically got in the face of the white people and whatnot and telling them they had to move there. And I read the comments from the captain, which was a white male, who said, I didn't order him to do that. He did it on his own. He's a nice guy and all of that, that sort of thing. And I would warn any black person to not go out of their way in situations like that on a job, especially when it's not your job description in itself. And the first one I mentioned, of course, that is very, very dangerous. I think he's in quote unquote what they call stable condition, so he's probably going to survive from it. But hopefully he doesn't try to do something like that again himself. Last but not least, I can't help it. It may be identified as well, I'm just going to say it anyway. The youngest, my quote-unquote baby sister, is gotten promoted again. Don't ask me what it's for. Don't ask me what it's for because I don't know. But I'll find out when I show up to the quote-unquote ceremony. She's been getting promoted every about 2 or 3 years for something or another. And it just comes to my mind. I can remember when she was brought home back in 1962. I think I was something like 5 or 6 years old. But she's, doing a very good work on her job. is actually law enforcement in the school system. And that's all I have to say. Thanks for everybody for listening.
Retired firefighter really all cut up in South Florida now. Like, man, get all my tickets erased and got a regular old get out of jail free card. Like, man, I'm going and tear up the clubs. Where's Uncle Luke? Me and him go out and party for the whole New Year's Eve and get arrested 3 or 4 times. Let's see. So you said, similar to what I said about a black male, does it change if it's a black female making these compliments about hair in the workplace, or?
Black female to black female?
Yes, sir.
It may come down somewhat, but like I said, it still can fall into some other things. In other words, you know, I heard her talk about her hair. Well, let me say something about what somebody is wearing or something like that, you know, and it can, you know, slide off into those type of things. But I would make the same inner rule, you know, if I know the person, if I you know, been around the person, we got hired together and we worked together for a long time. By the way, we go to the quote unquote same church, you know, that sort of thing. Something where you know you can keep it very, very private. Very private. You really got to pay attention to white people. They are experts in paying attention to us, and for the most part, a lot of us don't even know that they're paying attention to us until you have to show up to that disciplinary meeting. Then you find out then that they've been paying attention to you all the while. So you got to be very, very careful about it, even if it's a female with another female.
All righty. That seems logical. I'm just a big advocate in general. I know the workplace, particularly for females, not just the workplace, but certainly beyond, but for females, white, non-white, all over the world, hair and fashion can end up being a big deal, and that is one for the workplace and the plantation. I would not really ever, because the workplace is just not the time to have that sort of conversation, and I would want to always, the signal that I project about myself and what my interests and focus are, I would not ever want anyone to think, oh, I'm the person to come to talk to about hair. That's for female, male, especially, like, that goes like 50, double the times if you're classified as black. Like, I am not the person that you come to talk about hair, fashion, decor, none of that. I'm here to work. That's what you want to project, especially if you're classified as black, female, or male. That's just me. Like he said, this is a discreet thing. It's just us on the hush-hush. Girl, your hair's looking nice today. Fine. Great. Black self-respect. But I mean, anything beyond where I think somebody else might have heard this or whatever, I am about the way. Even for other non-white people, I'm not here to talk about makeup, fashion, everything I said before. I'm here to work. Now, if it's about that promotion, I'm all ears. Let's chat about it. Decide to get that raise. Make sure you get the biggest bonus at the end of it. Let's ride. That's what I'm here to talk about. Not all that other stuff. I could be in error. And white people know, like you said, a lot of times we don't even know. They're listening and eavesdropping on us and ear hustling, and we don't even know. Like, man, they didn't hop though. Like, we had parents who dialed in and said, man, white woman came up to me. She knew the exact type of breast pump I use. Man, what does it mean to be white? Other folks, anything else that they wanted to make sure they get in? If they have thoughts on the compliment issue, if you think it's a little different for a non-white female, black female giving a compliment to a black female in the workplace, if you think that you maybe could do that without there being a problem, or white people hearing this and causing trouble, or butting into the conversation, or whatever. If you have a thought on that, feel free. If you have commentary or anything else that has been shared, if we missed folks, *61. I'll double check the email, untiljustice@gmail.com. Should be here on Saturday, same time today, same time always, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Review what's gone down the past week, and then updates for coming programs for the coming week as well. But that'll be tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Compensatory call-in. Invest if you think the C.O.W.S is constructive, listener-supported counter-racist radio. Hit the blog racism-notes.blogspot.com. racism-notes.blogspot.com. PayPal button in the top right corner. You'll see the links for Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal beneath the button. Enormous thanks to all the folks who have invested. 15 years. If we get to February, hopefully we've been worthy of your time and energy, constructive for most of the time. You can hit the wish list, Amazon.com, under Gus T. Renegade. Enormous thanks to all the folks who have nabbed an item or three over the past decade plus. Hopefully we again have been worthy of your time and energy. Let us see. Did we miss any folks? Miss anybody? Had commentary they wanted to make sure they get in before we wrap up? Folks are.
Yeah, I actually have one thing.
Lauren? Yes, ma'am.
That pilot, I think his name was Joseph Emerson. I think that's what it was. The one who was charged with 83 counts of attempted murder. They are not charging him with attempted murder anymore. Those charges got lowered. I don't know if that's for, reference neutralizing workplace racism, but, he's a pilot of some workplace type stuff, so I thought I'd share that.
Much obliged. Think he had consumed some mushrooms or other substances before he had his episode on the plane. Sobriety would be best. I think we talked about that with the medical clearances and all that before, where they said, man, if you're a pilot in aviation, like they have all these medical clearances, if you're having difficulties and such, hey, it could be, trouble for you. It could derail your whole career, where, wow, it could be really difficult for you to pass those medical clearances again. They say, oh, okay, you're not a threat to yourself or danger to anybody else, and we'll let you fly, or, whatever your position is within aviation, which is a super white-dominated field. But, yeah, we did chat about all of that. It wasn't even like he was working when he tried to take over or crash this plane. I think he was just a passenger on the plane trying to get home to cuddle after a funeral and his round of psychedelics and what have you, and then got on the plane and almost killed all these folks up here in the Pacific Northwest. But we'll pay attention to see how all of that, I guess the trial portion of it now, we're at the prosecution point, so we'll see how all of that unfolds with the Cuddle Monster former pilot at this point. Yeah, I would hope his days of aviation are done at this point. Just say no. Just say no. That would be something to think about for a career too. Like, man, if you have any sort of job that is sensitive, that is, I'll say beyond like sanitation work that we were even there at this point, like, I don't know, because you have to drive the vehicle and such. Like, man, I might have to scratch that. Let's say sanitation with no driving involved, so you're not having to do any garbage disposal, where you just do like sweeping or vacuuming or something. Not that these are not valued jobs, as we heard from Dr. King, but just something where they might not necessarily, you don't have security clearance. They might not test you to see if you got liquor on you. It doesn't matter if you got liquor on your breath if you're just going to be vacuuming, right? If you got one of those jobs where they do health screenings and medical clearances and all of that, man, that would be something to think about, I would think, at the beginning of your career arc. Like, if that is the case, I really want to be all about sobriety would be best. Like, I want to be, that's my lifestyle. I am teetotaler for life. Nah, I don't want to go to the dispensary. Nah, I don't want no shrooms. I'm good. Nah, I don't even want no cigars. I'm sobriety, because that's the career path that I chose. And I don't want to mess that up with no whatever. If I feel like I'm done with all this, when I retire, you can already plan it out. So when I retire, then, hey, maybe I'll learn how to make wine. I go to California. We'll do some of the vineyards and all that. I have lots of, frequent flyer miles, so I can go to Italy and do it upright. I might even stomp on the grapes myself, take pictures of it and all, put it up on IG. But until then, sobriety would be best. And I think there are other fields like that too, where you need serious clearances. And so, I guess not Dr. Swango and all, but other fields, they got serious clearances where you want to be on the straight and narrow, as they say. I'm teetotaler for life. Think about that at the beginning, and even maybe see if you can have parents and other folks who know those fields, ask them, like, do you drink? How often do you go out to the bar and such? And see, is that a part of how they've been successful? I don't do all that. I'm not out at the club every weekend, staying there to close the joint down and got a monstrous tab and especially a thought during the so-called holiday season. As I said, a whole lot of these office parties and even the, family get-togethers and reunions and such that'll be going on until, I don't know, past New Year's probably. A lot of these events are about alcohol. Sobriety would be best. You do not want to be out and about under the influence and then stopped if they have sobriety checkpoints out or whatever the case, or have an accident or anything else. I would keep that in mind too. And even that would be something to think on. Like, can we not do these events without everybody being all liquored up? That's the only way we can do this get together and stand to be around each other in a cordial manner for an hour and a half or whatever it is. We got to be liquored up, like have 4 or 5 tequilas. That, especially if that's so-called relatives, man, why is that the case? We should just be able to come and celebrate sister got promotion. Woo! We can all get drunk and tear up the club for the weekend. Now we got our get out of jail free card. That's for sure. We can celebrate that with water, right? Right on. Sobriety would be best. And see if you could pull January into it, because normally after they've cut a fool for this whole month, of late they come back with dry January. That's supposed to be, now we're going to take it easy and put the tequila bottle down for the month. Mess my liver up, get straight now. Well, let's just start that now. Tell them you starting dry January early. Let's see if we can make a family thing out of it. Be better for our show them the studies where they said, hey, any more than 1 drink a week leading towards cancer. Remind them of that. I wouldn't do that in the workplace, but for attempted family, oh yeah, especially if you got nieces and nephews, young people, remind them or expose them for the first time. Hey, did you know? Now, mom and dad, us old folks, we're lost cause, but hey, they got data now. More than 1 drink a week, carcinogenic. And see if they can spell that one. Hey, reading, writing, carcinogenic. You say, whoa, really? Yes, really. And then tell them, hey, pay attention to the health of your relatives. Pay attention to the ones who drink, smoke cigarettes, all that. Pay attention to their health and well-being. See how long they live. See how many pills they got to take and all that. Just pay attention. Is that what you want to do? Do you want to have to take 5, 6, 10 pills to function? Do you want to do that? Sobriety would be. You can even show him the pilot, my man who cried, old Snuggle Bunny. Show him now and I say, where did all this start at? Because he didn't say that he was just a crazy white man. He said, I took those shrooms, man. I was in mourning. My white friend passed. Went down there and we celebrated his life and, I went psychotic. Sobriety would be best, man. Any hoodles, we will be here Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Compensatory call-in. Review what has gone down the last week or so. In fact, they were just talking about that. We should raise the taxes for World Diabetes Day. We should raise taxes on alcohol and sugar because it's so detrimental to health. Maybe that would discourage people from purchasing and consuming as much of these noxious substances because they cost a little bit more, maybe cost a lot more. Sobriety would be best. Much obliged for folks tuning in, hopefully worthy of your Friday. Creator, we ask that you help us remain patient with other black people, victims of white supremacy. We ask that you help us remain patient with ourselves. Remind us to demonstrate the highest levels of black self-respect at all times, in all places, each and every time we are in contact with another black person. It has been time. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. No name calling, no gossiping, no throwaway offspring. Cow signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed. I'm a victim, brother. You're a victim. Yeah. I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning. Shut up. The man has programmed my condition. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.